Hello again. Apologies for that. I, man can be annoying sometimes, but that's not the important bit. The important bit, Fallen Hero Rebirth by Malin Righty. Again, pretty sure I'm mangling that. Anyone here, feel free to talk if I don't sound clear or whatever. And just as like I guess a point of clarity, I'm I'm gonna be making the choices and stuff. This isn't like exploring every possible permutation of Fallen Heroes Rebirth. Although I might discuss some other stuff. But like, you know, if you want to view every single possible permutation of the game, you know, maybe play it yourself. It's a good read. But yeah, I'm just gonna do the stuff that seems fun to me, because obviously. And so we'll begin at the beginning with this lovely little preface that Ryan that Mullins left for us. Eh? Welcome to Fallen Hero Rebirth. If you are here because you clicked a button that said something like play now for free, free trial, or play first two chapters for free, it varies depending on platform. What you have in front of you is exactly that, an incomplete game. This is just the beginning of the story, enough for you to make up your mind whether you want to play, whether you want to pay for the complete version or not. Just as a disclaimer to the people here, this is, you know, the paid version, so we don't need to cut off at chapter 2. We can keep going until the end of the story. But this is like a generalized first page, which, you know, is nice to see. The free version consists of 75,000 words, including code, averaging 10,000 words in a playthrough. It is nice. Yeah, often don't keep the metric. It's a nice attention to detail that I do appreciate. The full version consists of 385,200 words, including code, averaging 73,200 words in a playthrough. You will get an option to purchase the full version once you reach that point in the game. If not, thanks for trying this out. This game consists of options to choose the genders of the two main romantic options, arrows for short. You can either choose this as you encounter the characters in question, preset both of them to a set gender, or randomize their gender. Their genders. There are also various achievements which can either be presented as they are earned or hidden under the epilogue of this game, unless you play on Steam, which does as it pleases. And here we go, our first choice. It's more a meta choice, really, for how we want the rest of the game to proceed. But it's still something, right? As for what gender I want the romantic options to be, well, a part of me does want to control a little bit. Ultimately, it's not really something that matters in the grand scheme of things. So I might as well just randomize it. As far as achievement setting goes, I am a person who relishes in positive reinforcement. So I'm very happy to see my achievements as they go. Los Diablos. Whoever chose to rename Los Angeles after the big one in 1980 was not far off. The quakes had ripped the entire West Coast infrastructure to shreds, destroying most of the historic districts. The San Andreas Fault had just finished rippling. The Cascadia subduction zone was triggered, and the entire coastline heaved like a shaken rug, sending tsunamis racing up and down the coast. The seismic upheaval awoke the slumbering Mammoth Lake system, one of the continent's two dormant supervolcanoes. Luckily, if such a word could be used for a disaster of that magnitude, the lava chamber under the dormant volcano had not filled completely, and the eruption was less disastrous than it could have been, which, considering a supervolcano, is still pretty destructive. What the quakes had not destroyed, the resulting tsunami drowned, and when the ash had finally stopped falling, someone had looked at the ruins of Los Angeles and decided that this was no longer a place fit for angels. Thus, Los Diablos was born. Hmm. Sort of those things. That is pretty dramatic. But then again, when you have super people roaming around, dramatic is kind of called for. At first, the government had tried to rebuild the ravaged coastline, but aftershocks and a crashing economy forced the politicians to focus on salvaging the heartland of the East. The Midwest had been heavily affected by the falling ash, and the resulting food rationing made riots an everyday experience. As the years passed, reclamation stalled. In 1992, the West Coast was finally declared a free economic zone in an attempt to incite the private industry to do what the government could not. No taxes, no regulation, no federal government. To everybody's surprise, it worked. Like the Wild West of old, the ravaged coastline attracted the adventurous and the foolhardy. Enough people wanted to live their lives without being held down by the heavy hand of big government, so that the wave of refugees turned into a trickle of immigrants. Enough companies wanted to ply their trade without rules and regulations for money to flow in as well. The roads began to be repaired, and the cities cleared of rubble. And right from the start, Los Diablos proved to be a haven for the enhanced. Now, while I do already know, one, it's always good to have a refresher on these things. It's been a while since I played. That is by design. Two, hey, maybe some people don't know what's going on. You always gotta explain these things. Never a bad idea to know more. Learn more about the incase. The so-called hero drugs had first seen the light in the 70s, an unforeseen side effect of an attempt to create the perfect diet pill. Corners had been cut and safety trials skipped, so the pill hit the market as a dietary supplement instead of a strictly controlled drug. None was shocked that there were side effects, but the nature of those side effects was a different story. Many people died, but in some, the metabolic changes resulted in weird and wondrous transformations. The rumors became reality when a woman who could light fires with her mind demonstrated her talents on live television. The active compound was analyzed, purified, and modified until you had a drug strong enough to kill most people. But the few survivors became far more than they had been. The drug was banned, of course, declared an illegal narcotic in 1976. How many people could consider injecting something that had a roughly 95% chance of killing you or turning you into a cripple for life? The answer was surprisingly many. There were the dreamers and the desperate, the thrill seekers, the greedy, and the plain insane. Prices went through the roof. The industry went underground, And when it resurfaced, it was in the reclaimed ruins of the West. The world had to relearn what it meant to be human. It had to adjust to the masked heroes and villains battling it out in colorful costumes with bombastic names. At first, the masks had been a way to preserve anonymity. The bank robber's mask turned into the villain's horned helmet. Soon, the masks had begun to represent something else, a new life, a new destiny. It was a new America, and it deserved new heroes. The government tried to stem the tide, but it was too late. Putting the cat, putting the cat back in the box is harder than letting it out. And in the end, they just had to accept this new state of affairs. The drugs were undeniably lethal, but the military had been making enhanced humans since Vietnam. And as the research companies moved west in the 90s, the lack of regulations led to new discoveries. Progress that, admittedly, was built on human suffering, but nobody could make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. Cybernetics had been used in the military since the 50s, but now they become compact and better integrated with biology. Armored suits grew sleeker and less prone to breakdown. Washington made the decision that though the West was nominally considered a free territory, the government had to have some presence there to deal with the increasingly violent enhanced. Thus, in 1997, the Marshall System was instituted. Appointed by the President himself, the Marshals were given the power of judge and jury and sent into the West to create some semblance of orders. Some were victims of the hero drug, quickly nicknamed boosts by the general populace. Others were rebuilt by the government or private contractors into cybernetic enhanceals armed with military hardware. They were heavily modified humans. The name short, the name, their name soon shortened to mods in the headlines of the East. Now the public had heroes as well as villains, and the country turned from grieving its dead to looking forward towards a future, dragged from the comic books of the past. America was hiding under the blanket, reading comics with a flashlight, trying to forget the terrors of the world outside. And it worked. Nothing is more precious than a dream, and this was one that could resonate with enough people so that the trickle of immigrants moving west turned into a flood. New cities grew on the corpses of the old ones, and though the quakes persisted, people learned to live with them. They learned to live with the danger because there was always the thrill as well. The thrill of living in a brand new age where men and women flew like birds and called down rain from the clouds to end the incessant droughts. People had a dream, and like a fool, you shared that dream. But that was then, and this is now. Tackle is brutal enough to tear the air from your lungs as it catapults you across the street. You just about manage to bite back the curse in your lips. When you curse, your expletive of choice is usually, I forgot this was chosen. I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Hells, that hurt more than you thought it would. The safety glass of the store window breaks with a sharp crack as you smack into it. Shards surround you like a crystal snowstorm as you're sent flying to the bridal store. Alarms blare to life as mannequins topple like bowling pins around you, their dismembered plastic torsos clad in extravagant dresses, flouncing like butterflies with their legs torn off. An all too familiar scent. Remembered bodies, real this time, broken on the ground, broken by the fall, as you are about to break. What is this now? Was that then? The memories threaten to overwhelm you, and for a moment you are not exactly sure where or who you are. What do you do? I mean, hey, when you're uncertain who you are or what's going on, maybe it takes time. It's worth taking time to center yourself. Hmm. Take a moment to catch my breath and make sure nothing is broken seems reasonable. Hmm. Hard skin, tough muscles, so very different from what you are used to. Could this body even break? Will you find out? Hopefully not. The important thing is staying in control. You have not spent the last 2 years preparing yourself for this to just blow it all by letting your past mistakes get the better of you. This is far too important to allow for even the possibility of failure. At least you haven't lost your grip on the small black box you stole just minutes ago. Priorities. Right now, that should be getting up, getting to your feet, and getting out of here. Up. Good. You are still in one piece. Unfortunately, so is Harold. You catch a flash of his indigo suit as he flies through the already broken window. He tackles you straight through the back of the store, further into the mall. Hell's not again. A lovely bit of like starting in medias res with your little fight scene. Very focus on protecting the boss with my own body. After all, this is not my body. Really, the box is the objective. You keep the box cradled to your chest, even if it means crashing through the wall back first. You're not sure whether Harold will try to grab it from you rather than knock you out, but you're not willing to take that chance. You can handle the pain. You hope. Hell, you have no idea how much it would actually hurt to be tackled through a wall. They make it look so easy on television. Wooden beams splintering like cheap movie props. The truth is far different. First, the initial impact slams the air from your lungs, something not even your near impervious skin protects you from. Then, for the briefest moment, your body is a battleground between the momentum you have built and the structural integrity of the wall itself. Compressed flesh, bone deep bruises, blossoming under tough, silver skin. And then the metal supports bend, and the pulverized concrete turns into a cloud of dust. The dust clings briefly to you before you smack into another wall and collapse there. Velocity depleted. You never really knew, did you? After all, this is not even your body, unfortunately. You always thought Lady Argent was invincible, her silver body shedding bullets like rain, slender muscles still strong enough to punch through walls. You saw her fight on illegal video feeds and officially sanctioned propaganda. Always cocky, always direct, always with a predatory smile on her face. She was the perfect woman of silvery steel, and none of you ever caught a hint of how much it actually hurt doing the things she did. Not until now, when you are hiding inside her skin, when you feel every single bruise, do you realize that this is what she always hid from the cameras. Her invulnerability came at a price. She could still feel everything, because you certainly can now. Plain blue skin suit glued to her form protects and supports, but does little to dampen. You can feel broken masonry digging into your back, and you have to get up. You have to get up now because you have to get up now before you lose control of her. But strong enough to control, I will not allow myself to fall, or I am covered and she head on her body but trap her mind. The following hero I do like to imply is, subtler than that. especially because you gotta do mind control shit. And yeah, that's always been the vibe for me. I know that sometimes you have your forceful telepaths who, you know, crush the personality within. But considering later on, you kind of see a little bit of like how subtle you're supposed to be. It just feels like the more natural course for you to be like, oh, clever, sneaking around a little bit, even into your approach to telepathy and stuff. So yeah, I'm cleverer than she. I run her body but trap her mind. It only takes a moment to shift her emerging thoughts into another nightmare loop. As long as you can keep her mind asleep, her sleepwalking body is yours to control. She is not like a normal puppet. You don't dare let her mind get even close to waking. You've caught a tiger by the tail. Now you just have to keep her from realizing that. Easier said than done. You can't tap into her memories or her true skill, and so you are left a stumbling marionette, a bungler hijacking the brain of one of the most powerful women on the West Coast. It's true that you were a good hand-to-hand fighter back when you played the hero game, but never like her. You wish things would have been very different. When you were on the side of the angels, you didn't use your telepathic powers to possess people. Instead, you read surface thoughts and mapped intentions. You knew when somebody would take a shot, and you would just choose to be elsewhere. If someone thought about punching you, you made sure to dodge. You wove illusions and distractions to keep up with the best. You used guns and technological toys, everything you could, to hide the fact that you were, physically, just a normal, well-trained human. You always had to have a backup plan. You don't have one now. It takes every ounce of your power and skill to keep her mind in check, to piggyback her nightmares, to keep her unaware that this is really happening, that she really is fighting a fellow ranger, or rather, that you are. Everything had gone so perfectly right until Harold showed up. Lady Argent was one of the rangers, so she had clearance to remove things from the vault, and with the fake replacement in place, nobody would know that anything had been stolen unless they specifically looked in that particular container. And then Harold had spotted her on the way out, and you panicked, hit him, and made a run for it. Not your best moment. 5 blocks later, here you are. What has gotten into you, Argent? Harold asked as you wobble unsteadily. He sounds worried. He should be. Yeah. Mm. I smile threateningly. He should be afraid of me. I try for my best Argent impression, or I just punch the asshole. Sad thing is, Harold's a good egg. Just weird, man. But yeah, being trying to be subtle and sneaky. So as subtle and sneaky as we could really be. But anyway, Argent impression. You almost smile at how close he gets to the truth, because something has gotten inside her. In fact, you. Are you okay? His voice is tinged with worry as he glides closer, feet just inches from the ground. I'm not. Please, you mumble through Lady Argent's uncooperative lips. It's enough of a struggle to control her actions, and fine motor skills like speech normally require. Uh, it's enough of a struggle to control her actions, and fine motor skills like speech normally require you to let your puppet hover close to wakefulness so you can access their memories and speech patterns. This is something you don't dare to do with her, because you have a feeling that giving her an inch might mean losing her altogether. Hurting Petal's feeling is simply not worth it. Too bad, because Harold really needs to be taken down a peg. You never liked him, and his tousled blonde hair and picture-perfect smile, always ready for the cameras. You never liked him, and you had dismissed him as unsuitable for position for that reason. Ah, how disappointing. Let me check something, actually. Oh, well, let's hope that helps. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, you never liked him. His tousled brown hair and picture-perfect smile, always ready for the cameras. You never liked him, and you had dismissed him as unsuitable for possession for that reason. Because the sad truth is that, as a telepath, emotions influence you far too readily. Lady Argent was the better choice by far. Now, how best to make him pay? I lure him close and wait for an opening. I rush him, try to take him off fast. I let him attack and wait for an opening. Lure him close. Sort of acting. Please, Argent, I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear? We can talk about this. Harold hovers a few inches above the rubble, trying to reason with a woman who is no longer there. You wonder what exactly he thinks he has done to make her mad enough to do this. Trouble in paradise? You almost feel bad for the poor sap as you feign weakness and confusion, stumbling to your knees in the rubble. He is on the ground and at your side a moment later. It is no secret that he and Lady Argent are lovers, and for a moment worry over one's caution. He doesn't even gasp when you punch him square. Your near punch hits him squarely in the groin. He just wheezes a little and falls over, curled up in a ball of unimaginable pain. Now that is a satisfying sight if you ever saw one. Oh, if only you dared to spare the focus to say something clever. But she is strong, and her subconscious is fighting you, and so you need to break this off fast. You are not here to fight, after all. The box is safe and whole, and that is the important part. There's always room for one more kick or no time for petty vengeance. Nominally speaking, yes, there is no time for petty vengeances. That much is kind of, wasteful. You won't be the idiot who gets caught just because they can't resist the temptation to drag things out. You have seen far too many villains fall on that particular stumbling block. In fact, you have been the cause of such falls more than once. It is a painful but effective way to win a fight, as long as you have a team that can rush in and save you before it's too late. That is a thing you no longer have. Time to get going. Time to make a run for it. Not out into the streets, but further back into the mall where you were tossed. It's safer that way. There are more members of the Rangers you don't want to run into. Steal, charge. You're not sure which would be worse. And you don't plan on taking the risk of meeting either. Tearing through the mall, you barely register nameless stores and screaming people as you run past them. The soft interior walls are no more a hindrance than the windows as you make your own shortcut to the fire exit towards the fire exit. A quick look over your shoulder reveals nothing but the rising dust, and you take a moment to release the breath you've been holding. Then you open the door and step out into what you hope is not a police cordon. Luck is with you. It's just a deserted alley filled with trash cans. You're not getting a better chance. Stuck in a deep and nervous breath, you drop the deceptively innocent looking box you stole into the trash. And, in another breath, you are out on the main street again, glittering in the sunlight as cars screech to a halt around you. All that remains now is to go out in a properly villainous fashion. You have what you came for, and it is time to let this pup go. She has done her job. It was just lingering inside her brain. Reluctantly, I started loosening my threads. I mean, it would hardly do to get careless at this stage. So yeah, loosen your threads. It was already hard enough to keep her entangled. Yeah. You detach yourself from her brain, leaving her confused and struggling in this waking nightmare of burning cars and approaching sirens. You close her eyes hard. A moment of vertigo, and you open your eyes a second later, the disconnect making your stomach turn. Nausea, bile rising. Hell. You wobble on unsteady legs, then make it to the bathroom, just in time to save yourself the indignity of throwing up all over your clothes. The hotel room's air conditioner hums quietly, but you can hear sirens in the distance. By now, the battle must be all over the networks, but you keep hugging the toilet until the world stops spinning. You did it. You actually did it. You would laugh if vomit weren't dripping from your mouth. It's hard to stand up, but you need to get that taste out of your mouth. Dragging yourself to your feet, with the help of the sink, you quickly rinse and spit, catching sight of yourself in a minute. This was your little character selection portion of things. Actually. Eventually revealing, but who cares? And well, that's important. I was never one for binaries. Fair enough, Carl. And it's one of those lovely things that's a fair enough cop. And also, as we may find out later, something that makes sense in the narrative of things. Looking at yourself is not your favorite pastime. It is too easy to be reminded of who you used to be. There are rules on how to perform gender, and you'd like to think that you've left them behind by now. After all, you are reinventing yourself on a grander scale. Why should you just why should you let yourself be confined by what others have decided for you? Yeah. It's hard to imagine yourself as younger, more hopeful, maybe even idealistic. It's hard, but sometimes when you look in the mirror, there's still that moment of vertigo that makes you wonder what you are doing and whether going through with your plan really is the wisest choice. Not that you need to wonder. You know that it's not. However, right now, it feels like the only choice left that makes sense. You want to tear off your clothes and take a shower, but that would be pushing your luck. So instead, you quickly rinse your mouth, the mouthwash burning away the taste of vomit. Splashing a bit of cold water in your face makes you feel a lot better. Mental exhaustion is far more dangerous than physical in your line of work. There are lines under your eyes, and you have to admit you look far more like your age than you'd like. Being 30 is not the end of the world, but you no longer have the stamina you used to. There are days where you really hate how you look. Today is one of them. Right, yes, that's a nice car. Right now, your eyes are faded like dry grass, liable to blow away in a strong wind. The weather is sunny, like always, so hiding behind sunglasses is an option that doesn't look out of place. This is important right now. Fitting in, giving nobody a chance to get suspicious. Most people see you as. This honest. Unclear, but like mixed is one of those things that, again, narratively it makes sense. Also means that I have to make my own mind about this. And since most people have a hard time pinpointing their ethnicity, you can go down the path of least resistance. Let them assume whatever suits your purpose. A small telepathic nudge does the rest, enabling you to pass unnoticed. Sometimes you wish you could tell people the truth about everything, but right now you just have to live with their assumptions. One day you will, maybe even one day soon, but right now you must be exactly what they pictured you as, a nobody. Splashing some cold water onto your face, you take a deep breath to try to chase away the headache that keeps sneaking up on you. You don't really do anything with your hair, so it stays its natural color. Hmm. Okay. I kind of wanted a fake gray, I'm not gonna lie. Gray's pretty cool. But dark brown will suit. Black will suit, I guess. Hair is black and wavy. Short on one. Makes sense. Being short means it's easy enough to take care of, but you have enough force conformity in your life to keep it neat. Now all you have to do is collect the box. The question is, what would be the best way to go about it? A suitable puppet and a collective. Now I nobody will recognize me at the scene, but this is too important. I will come collect you myself. It's been years since I was paper and I wore a mask backpack. Yeah. Again, caution is imperative, especially since the Rangers are maybe gonna be there. Again, best to not risk it. Leaning against the cold wall of the bathroom, you let go of your own body once more, swimming through the scurrying thoughts of the nearby guests. You sense the bored churn of thoughts belonging to the young bellhop you talked to earlier. A little bit of familiarity always makes possessing someone easier. On the other hand, familiarity might be dangerous in the long run. And there is also the departing businessman, fruitlessly waiting for a cab outside. The businessman, better not taking the risks. Layers upon layers of obfuscation. The taste of vomit in your mouth fades to mouthwash fresh, and you open your eyes and breath in the smoke of the cigarette in your hand. It is easy enough. It is an easy enough practice run to make you drop the stuff, grinding it under your heel. Yes, this one will do. It feels odd walking down the streets as a normal man when you had fought here as a silvery goddess just minutes ago. You know you were cutting it close, but you want to get there before the LVPD starts cordoning the area off. or some desperate bum raids the trash can you were searching for. Nobody pays you any attention as you walk. It seems like half the block is out to watch the show. Now that the punching has stopped, the crowds are gathering. Your puppet feels jittery and nervous when you make him walk in the direction of the alley. He knows he has a cab to catch, probably an important meeting he can't be late for. A fire hydrant has broken, spraying the streets with rain. A rainbow hovers as the sun peeks through the clouds. At the center of the crowd, you see Marshal Steele talking to the police. An unconscious Lady Argent wrapped in Kevlar netted at his feet. She looks untouched, still picture perfect. Silver skin washed clean by the water. You wonder what she will remember when she wakes up, I guess. What story will she tell him? But that isn't really your concern anymore, is it? Foreshadowing. Marshal Steele, or as you know him, Captain Wei Chen. He looks pretty much the same as when you last laid eyes on him, though seven years have passed. Perhaps he's made of the same material as his armor. There's no softness there, just sharp angles and stern lines. If Lady Argent is new, he most certainly is not. You're not supposed to know his civilian identity, but then again, it's hard to hide things from a telepath. You can see that Steele is talking to the LDPD, the familiar frown etched deep on his face. Part of you wonders what he has to say. There's no reason why you shouldn't try to listen in, safely hidden in the puppet as you are. But as you start to slow down, you can feel your puppet acting up, nervous at any kind of delay. Hmm. Now is either okay, make this for the mass mind, squashing any stray worries, or keep walking to help ease his subconscious worries. It is like a little bit of a twist because part of me is like, I'm curious. I kind of want to listen to it, but I have been conceptualizing as being, I've been conceptualizing them as like, oh, kind of, you know, trying to be careful about those layers upon layers of obfuscation, being subtle manipulations, stuff like that. Emphasize. Maybe I'm a little paranoid, but I don't. Doesn't feel wise to linger. Keep walking. You walk fast. The mind's man is nervous, but this, at least, eases some of his subconscious worries. You might have stopped playing for the good guys, but that doesn't mean you've lost every trace of conscience. This isn't a bad man you crawled into, just a normal businessman, worried about his receding hairline and the meeting he might be late for. There's a bit more perspiration than normal when he thinks about the person he's supposed to be meeting, but the business world can be pretty cutthroat. Besides, you've heard Steele's sermons before. He's most likely trying to keep the LAPD from getting involved. The rivalry between federal government appointed rangers and the city appointed LDPD has been there since day one. You doubt that this, you doubt that, you doubt that's gonna help matters. You walk past and don't look back, even though you really want to. The alley is as dirt. Your, uh, sometimes I'm really bad with words. Uh, the alley is as deserted as you left it. Everyone else has headed for the commotion down the road. Opening the trash can, you rummage around a little before finding the box, marveling at its heaviness now that you don't have Lady Argent's enhanced strength. It's an odd feeling that your future can depend on something as small as this. But then again, you always paid attention to the details. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive today. The worst part is done. Once your unwitting host body has left what he collected inside your unlocked room, you quickly lead him back downstairs and abandon him where you found him. You will remember nothing but a few blurred moments of his time, lost forever to daydreaming. You make sure to leave a final feeling of flushed arousal. You found that people question a lot less if their minds are wrapped in sensuality. It truly does short their brain out, either with pleasure or guilt, and both are equally effective when it comes to distracting people from wondering what they've been up to. We fill our own blanks in the crossword of life. Slipping out this time is as hard on your body as ever. The vertigo floors you, but your gut is already empty when you lie collapsed on the bathroom floor. You shouldn't be doing this, not two Johns in a row, but you didn't have much choice. Finally, you can relax. Your mission is over. The box is safely in your possession. Gingerly, you strip off your clothes and stumble into the shower. It's not until the steam has painted every surface opaque that you step out, wrapping yourself in crisp hotel towels. The mirrors show little but steam and mist, but you still look away, unwilling to meet your own reflection. You should be elated that you finally have what you need. Soon there will be no turning back. Not that there ever was. Step one, complete. Still have a long way to go. Obtain the metaphor sample. This might be the first step of your plan, but you still have a long way to go. Celebrating is all fine and well, but this little trinket alone won't change anything, let alone your future. Still, this is all fine for a day's work. Later, once you have recovered a little, you check out of the hotel. As a customary precaution, you telepathically paint a different picture of who rented this room for the staff. Perhaps you are overly paranoid, but greater people than you have been brought down by inattention to detail. The sunglasses go on as soon as you step outside. The sun is beating down hard enough to make the streets shimmer like a mirage. You are uncomfortably hot, but choose to walk all the same. One less cab driver who could point the finger in your direction. It's worth a little sweat, to be sure. Your head is throbbing hard. The light hurts, even through the sunglasses, and the distant silence don't help. Just another afternoon in Los Diablos. An empty apartment is the only thing that greets you as you return home and peel off your clothes. The air conditioner hums and strains, but keeps the bedroom as frigid as you like. It's not much, really. Perfect for someone who wants to avoid notice. The pile of laundry at the foot of the bed is begging for a trip to the laundromat, but you need to catch a few hours of sleep before tonight. The bed catches you when you fall, wide enough for two, let alone your wasted frame. You surrender yourself to sleep and into the dreams. Oh, alright. Frankly, I didn't realize anyone else was actually here, so. Alright. Tonight they are almost gentle, sinking deep into the warm amniotic fluid of childhood. Tubes and cradles and goldfish faces peer down at you, distorted by glass and fluid. But the dreams shift forever treacherous. You moan in your sleep as you twist and turn the blankets like a straitjacket. Trapped, trapped again. Yeah. Here we have our lovely little, uh, how to say, flashback sequence. That's the word. Tracking. Then we need to move, a familiar face says. It belongs to someone popping their head up for a peek over the wall you're hiding behind and withdrawing it just as fast. Hey, get your hair out, pals. I don't know. I feel like you could definitely come up with a name better than Chris. Hmm. In your dreams, your name sometimes shifts and changes, but you're fairly sure. Let's just say it's trust me. It'll make sense in a second. Surname is yes, Jean Doe. Might be a little on the nose, but hey, we're having fun here. Get down, John. You obey just in time. The plasma smells like gasoline and takes half the wall with it as it hits. We need to move, the voice urges. Move? With him out there? Are you mad? You ask, because you saw a blast like that hit Steel head on, melting through most of his armor. Wait, you remember who this is? Your friend, your partner. You know this man. Probably, Ortega admits with that wide, shit-eating grin that's a dead giveaway when he's about to do something crazy. That doesn't change anything. We still need to take him out. I doubt that someone called him the psychopath. Someone calling himself the psychopath is gonna stop on his own. You got a point there, you admitted, adjusting your mask a little. It's liquid switch. Aren't the rest of your cavalry gonna arrive soon? I thought the Rangers always got their man. Alas, my friend, the cavalry is us. Ortega doesn't wear a mask. His brown skin is tanned a deep brown by the unforgiving Los Diablos sun, and unruly black hair sticks to his sweaty forehead. Steel is down and out, and Anathema and Sentinel are up north, helping out against the latest quake. We're spread far too thin. So when are you gonna accept my invite and join us properly? It's not the first time he's asked you about this, but your answer is always the same. Tell that to Steel, who doesn't trust me. Technically, there are other objectives, but frankly, this is an easy one to point to. Like, hey, not everyone on the team trusts me. Tell that to Steel, you say with a shrug, following Ortega as he crawls along the wall, trying to find a better angle of attack. He doesn't trust me one bit. I do, Ortega says quietly, and Anathema would vouch for you as well. Thanks, but I don't want to get caught in the middle here. That's only half the truth, but it's the half he gets. Too bad. Health benefits are second to none. He jokes, flinching as another blast tears through the building next to him. Psychopath is firing blind, but he's still dangerous. I'm not the one who needs health benefits, old man. You tease, because you quickly learn that being an ass helps when you're nervous. Old? Ortega huffs as he crawls along the wall, head kept carefully down. I'm not even 30. Yet, you add with a smirk. It is one of Ortega's sore points, because he's a lot older than you. Not that it shows. At least, not when it comes to maturity. But then again, you have seen a lot in your life. Things Ortega wouldn't believe even if you dared to tell him. Sometimes you wish you could. You never planned to get this close to someone, but since you met him, you discovered it was nice to have someone hmm, to be friends with who would have my back in the fight. This is one of those things, but it's like I don't remember exactly, but I think because yeah, in my head, Ortega's one of the few people that he has like good fellow. Uh, I keep making mistakes. Ortega is one of the few people they seem to have like a good fellow feeling with, you know. But our old Jean is way too tangled up in other shit to flirt with anyone. You're comfortable with staying just friends because I don't dare let in I don't dare let anybody closer than that. Just being friends is a whole lot closer than you ever expected to get to anybody. And even that makes you nervous. It's not that you don't appreciate it, it's just that you never planned for it. Things you haven't planned for are things that usually end up getting you hurt. But in the end, it was just impossible to resist how Ortega treats you like a friend, even though he doesn't really know anything about you. If anything, he's made it clear that he respects your need for privacy. You are not used to that. Another explosion brings your scattered thoughts back into focus, as the pair of you freeze in place. The shot missed, but it also blasted a huge hole in the wall where you would have been if you had kept crawling. So close, and getting closer. You are running out of time. If you get an opportunity, do you think you can hurt him? You ask, pulling out your gun. Your gun, while top of the line, is just an energy caster. You can hurt people, stun them, maybe even kill them if you ever turn the dial up to the maximum setting, but it wouldn't even tickle psychopaths. Psycho. Nothing you have done so far has been able to breach that armor. Steel was the one among you who had a shot at actually hurting the old monster. His armor is equipped with ordnance almost as heavy as Psychopath's. The smoking hole of the old monster's shoulder is testament to that. That is also why Steel was taken down. Ortega might not be playing the same weight class with his electric blasters, but I'm almost out of juice. But if I can get in close, I can short out his armor now that Steel has breached it. Ortega flexes his hands, lightning playing around them, and I bet I can dodge faster than he can aim. You can't, you say, shaking your head. That plasma cannon he's lugging around doesn't rely on his reflexes alone. What do you mean? I know a lot of people, and I've been fresh and I'm good with tech. Considering how our little fella here is barely able to comprehend making a friend, I always feel like in my head it's like, how are they socialite? Good with tech. I recognize the design of that gun. Yeah. With your background, it is tantamount to self-defense to learn everything you can about technology. Even if you're not one to get stuck in the lab yourself, you know enough to recognize what you are looking at. It's got an organic telepathic interface. The aiming mechanism is controlled by a pentacle of linked rodent brains. Tentacle stop. God. Telepathic rodent brains. Rats, I think. In fact, you can feel them scurrying on the edges of your mind. The only reason they haven't found your position yet is that you keep redirecting their attention. But they are growing wise to your manipulations, and you can't keep this up forever. What? Ortega gives you a blank look. It can sense where you'll be before you're there, you explain, hiding your smile. I thought that was your thing, sidestep. Ortega's one of the few who know the secret of your martial prowess. I don't have a thing, you protest, but the whine of the plasma cannon powering up stops you from escalating the argument. If you're going to stop psychopath or you have to do it now. a tactician than I'm a fighter. I mean, they did fighters and tacticians, no tacticians but fighters. I mean, I feel like they gave great pains to express, oh yeah, I'm just a normal person. But yeah, tactician seems good. You're a good fighter, even without your telepathic advantage, but you're still baseline human in your capabilities. You win by outthinking and outplanning your opponent. Psychopather dropped in on a fight he wasn't invited to, but thinking on your feet is what you do. You know that Ortega is counting on you to find a way to beat him. But how? The plasma cannon is far too accurate for its bulk. Ortega will risk taking major damage in the process, even if his thoughts are notoriously hard for a telepath to pick up. You, on the other hand, are far better at staying out of harm's way, but also far less likely to survive a hit. Iris drawing. Ortega should attack on his own while I stay safely hidden, distracting the targeting array so he won't get shot. Or I risk myself to draw his fire, and Ortega can wait until he has a chance for a clean attack. I always. It's one of those things, right, where probably makes more tactical sense for me to do this option. I'm probably gonna pick it. I always feel bad about picking it, the way it's framed anyway. If you're going to do it now. Just be careful, you caution, doubting he will listen. Since when was I ever not careful? The grin is wide and filled with confidence, and for a moment you wonder how much of it is fake. Don't make me read you that list. We'll be here for a week. They don't call you charge just because you can throw sparkles. You close your eyes for a moment, trying to tune into the pattern of the targeting matrix. I will do my best to try to distract them. Sparkles. If you fail, I will come back and hunt you for that comment alone, you know? Before you have a chance to say anything in return, Ortega leaps out from behind the building, dropping into a roll before the plasma tears into the wall where his head was a moment earlier. Score one for his reflexes, you suppose. There you are, you asshole! Psych Officer bellows, swinging the cannon in Ortega's direction. Armored feet grind rubble to gravel as he moves to follow, unleashing blast upon blast. You struggle to keep up with the scrambling mind of the rats. Alien, linked. It's an uncomfortably familiar feeling. You can't touch or control them, but you can do your best to mask Ortega's exact position. Mental chaff, telepathic smoke designed to conceal and disturb, designed to irritate. You realize your mistake a moment too late as the cannon swerves in your direction. You made them mad. The wall you are hiding behind explodes into a shower of debris, tossing you back like a rag doll. Your nanomesh skin suit protects you from the worst of the shrapnel and flames, but you are trapped beneath wreckage too heavy to move, and it is crushing uh, your leg, and the footsteps are coming closer, as is the laughter. You tear desperately at the rubble that traps you, but you can't get loose. Any second now, Ortega will appear behind Psychopather, sending enough bioelectricity through the armored suit to fry the old monster's control systems. Any second now. But the steps keep coming closer, and you can't get loose. When did you start imagining you had friends that would come to the rescue? When did you get so woefully naive? The sad truth is that you are a liar and a fraud, and that you are going to die alone. Wake up. Nobody hears you scream as you tear yourself free from the constricting blankets. You tumble to the floor, finally awake. A nightmare. Your skin is covered in sweat, the sheets still half wrapped around you like a shroud. But you are alive and still free. Naivete or not, Ortega really did save you back then. You can still smell the acrid smoke coming from the fried armor, and see Ortega's worried face as he freed you from the rubble. But that was years ago. You're no longer Sidestep, and Ortega is a distant memory. Playing the hero is a thing of the past. Nora's dreams pop like bubbles when they are confronted with reality. You know yours did. And that is why you avoid sleep when you can. The nightmares are always there to remind you. You free yourself from the sheets, but make no effort to get up. You know your legs would be shaking, and that would be an intolerable weakness. Better to just sit here and stare into the dark and pretend that everything is all right. Pretend that the best times in your life aren't fodder for your nightmares. Pretend that you're still in control. God. This is a very fun and well-crafted story, but sometimes the admittedly justifiable edge gets a little funny in like contrast. Because yeah, pretend that the best times in your life aren't fodder for your nightmares. Always sticks out to me. Entertaining. No, that is not pretending. You are in control. And sometimes that means turning into a nightmare yourself, if that is the only way to beat them. Taking a deep breath, you finally stand, pleased to see that your legs and hands are steady once more. That is how it should be. Sidestep is dead, and Jean is just a face you wore in the past, not who you will be in the future. Heading to the shower, you strike up a jaunty whistle, focusing on the positive. Waking up before your alarm means you have more time to prepare for your meeting later tonight. In Los Diablos, the underworld comes to life when the normal world goes to sleep. It is a daunting prospect to function in both of those worlds, but you have an ace up your sleeve. You don't bother to turn on the light in the bathroom, as showering in the dark is a remarkably peaceful experience. You need a bit of peace of mind right now. It was a risk getting this close to the Rangers this early, but they had what you needed, so there really was no choice. Lady Argent ending up in battle was not what you had planned, but at least you managed to complete your mission. That's all that counts, right? But still, I'm glad Ortega wasn't there. A little bit of that fella feeling. Part of you is still grateful that Charge was not on active duty when you broke in. You know you have to face Ortega eventually, but right now you are in no way ready for it. It's all in the past, and you know you've set your mind on this course, and there is no turning back. But facing Ortega will be the biggest test of your conviction yet. There are so many fond memories there, and no, the fact that you were once friends can't change the truth. What happened, who you are, what he represents. You need to get that into your head and stop thinking about what could have been, how hard he would work on getting you to change your mind, to save you. However, you will leave all thoughts of what has been behind you. It is time to get dressed up and get to work. The kind of work that you can't do looking like yourself. It's not that you're bad looking, at least not with your clothes on. They made sure of that. Of course, you can't allow yourself to look too attractive either, and draw another kind of attention you are not ready for. On the streets, you are essentially a nobody, just a tired soul slumped into your habitual ignore me please. Your habitual ignore me pop. With your past being what it is, you are still far too recognizable by people. you want to steer clear of, especially in enhanced circles. The- If you want to have any hope for pulling this off, you need to be discreet. And that means not being yourself. If there's one thing you've learned about people, it's that there are two ways to avoid attention. The first is by doing what you do in your real body. Be quiet and unremarkable, so nobody will notice you. The second is to stand out, be bold, and lean into people's preconceptions. A beautiful woman with a body to die for and a face that will mix with the memories of all other beautiful women out there. A handsome man with the whitest of smiles, as forgettable as the fading warmth of his handshake. Masks, puppets, and since it is nothing but a mask, it is easy to stick to the binary. It saves a lot of awkward conversations with people you don't want to remember you. Yeah, if you're having a whole other body, you might as well. While possessing random strangers is safer, for some tasks you need a recurring face. Someone who can be remembered, build relations, and talk to people who would be too risky to approach in your own body. That's why you built an identity for your puppet, including a fake name. That is almost tempting to be uncreative and just go with Jane. Uh, sure, yes. It was about 2 years ago that you found Yasmin languishing in a hospital, catatonic and comatose. You have an agreement of sorts. You use her empty body, and in return, she doesn't waste away in a hospital bed. Not that she's signed any papers. It's been years, and you have yet to find any trace of thoughts or personality in there. Her mind is gone for good, so you doubt she'd mind if you helped yourself to her leftovers. To keep your two identities separate, you got her an apartment of her own. Though it is a bit of a risk, it sits right on top of your own because to truly slip into someone's mind, or lack of it, and possess them, you need to be close. Close enough to single out their thoughts from the hive that is humanity. That used to be the case. While it is still true for your other victims, slipping into Yasmin is as comfortable as slipping into an old pair of jeans. With the amount of practice you've had, you've managed to possess her from miles away, though that leaves your original body defenseless if you leave it resting somewhere else. There's not much of a selection of comatose bodies, so you picked her mostly for convenience. That she looks good is an added bonus, and what made you decide to lean into making her a better mask. Short and curvy, because why not? People underestimate twang. Yasmin is short and curvy with quirky lips and curves that fill out the dresses you buy for her with stolen money. You made her name up because you don't care what her real name was, and neither does she. She was listed as a Jane Doe in the hospital records, no next of kin. Very handy. You're not exactly sure what her ethnicity is, but most people seem to think she's from the America, so might as well play into it. You're not sure what her origins are, except that she can pass for white, which is handy. Sometimes you'd think there's an Eastern European hint in her jawline, but other times you could swear the nose is British. Not sure what the difference is in pure looks. Devoid of name and language, everything gets muddled. You don't even know whether she is American or an immigrant. If she was a foreigner, that would explain the lack of relatives. It doesn't matter anyway. You don't really care. People make their own assumptions. Race and heritage are a touchy subject for you, so you prefer to focus on the details, like her eyes, which are gray. Her eyes are light gray, picking up the shades and shadows of your surroundings. They never look quite the same when you catch sight of them in a mirror. As for your puppet's hair, it's a lot more fun to play with than your own, because here you have no problem coloring it whatever shape you want. You're not afraid to stand out in this body. At the moment, her hair is a vivid shade, purple. Because if we can just color it, why not? Yeah. Purple and you can keep it long and loose. It can easily be styled differently depending on your current needs. You have a system set up. During the day, you go about your normal life as shown. You pay bills, you shop, you plan, you steal money. But by nightfall, you lay your own body down to sleep and slip into Yasmin's empty form. You go swimming to keep the inactive muscles in shape, and take her shopping to make sure she looks her best for your purposes, and you wear her to Joe's. Joe's, no apostrophe, is a bar with a difference. There are bars like it all over the coast. Some are pretentious and call themselves things like Dark Side or the Black Hole, but most are like Joe's, discreet and quiet, unwilling to draw too much attention to what goes on inside. To all appearances, Joe's is a seedy bar in a seedy district, a place for you to go to get drunk and not much else. It's not a friendly place, but the regulars stay there for long. Joe, which really is the name of the owner, tends to hire the scariest down and outs he can find to keep strangers from lingering, and it works. There are far better places for a drink within walking distance, unless you're bad, unless you're enhanced, unless you've got the right contacts. Because then the doors of the back will open and reveal the real Joes, securely contained beneath a layer of scramblers thick enough to fool any uninvited guest. The security measures are another reason you take Yasmin to Joe's. Scramblers like that always leave you with a headache that will plague you for days, not to mention the fact that Joe has telepathic dampeners, and those remove your best weapon. Most of these bars don't have them, but the places that do are where the smart people go. The ones who need to keep their secrets, the ones you need to talk to. You shudder to think what the dampeners must have cost Joe to purchase, not to mention the energy needed to keep them running. So tonight, you are safe and secure in your puppet's non-powered body, your telepathic talents busy driving her. You have nothing to conceal, no powers to dampen, and the scanner flashes a pleasant green as you nod politely to the guard at the door. How's the crew tonight? You ask, smiling a little. You try to keep the guards on your good side. It never pays to antagonize the staff. Quiet, the man says with a shrug. Hopefully it stays that way. Here's hoping, you say, walking inside with a confident wave. Never let anyone know you might be feeling out of your depth, especially in a place like this. The door slams shut. The smell hits you first. The smoke from dozens of cigarettes blankets the area. The sweet and spicy undertones tell you that not all of them are tobacco, but that is to be expected. At least it hides the chemical smell of active enhancement and unwashed bodies. Joe's choice of music tends to be eclectic, though if there are any of his favorite customers around, he might cater to their wishes. Right now, there's a particularly nostalgic piece of soft jazz that, for some reason, makes you feel ill at ease. You can't remember why, and you can't let it bother you either. The music is as irrelevant as the soft bluish lighting, or the way a handful of faces turn towards you as you enter. You give a nod of greeting to the ones you recognize, checking the others to see if any of them seem inclined to share any trouble or start any trouble. It doesn't look that way, but you can't be sure. You are not a telepath when you possess Yasmin. How do you feel about that? Lost my telepathy? I don't like it, but it can be handy. Or I like taking breaks from my telepathy now and then. Frankly, being able to read minds is something I definitely. It really gives you had the ability to read minds. Like, yeah, hate the loss of my telepathy. Makes the most sense to me. You hate being blind. It makes you feel cut off from the world. Maybe it can be a bit burdensome at times to have the constant chatter of humanity surrounding you, but you feel naked without it. How can you know whether people are telling the truth? What if they were plotting against you? What if someone wanted to jump you? People are just masks to you in this body, blank faces you feel are hopeless to read. Still, you have to endure, and by now, you have the reputation. But that wasn't always the case, and since Yasmin is neither enhanced nor working for a well-known villain, you needed to have an in. For you, that person was Bruce Tench on Modern Mercenary. We're going with Boris. I like Boris. He's a good actor. They both are. But you've seen people with the shakes before, and the young man who stumbled into your path one night was no exception. Boris, call me Bo, is fitted to the teeth with various driving enhancements. But that night, one of them was misfiring. Your years of working with Ortega had taught you how to spot misfiring neural boosters. A glass of alcohol and a forced reboot later, Bo had calmed down enough to thank you. Working as a mercenary driver doesn't pay well enough for his upkeep, so you have to continue to help out now and then, in return for favors. It's still too early for a full house, but there are enough people milling about to provide good camouflage for your business here. You recognize a lot of the regulars, and a cursory scan of the floor doesn't show any suspicious people. Even if you don't have access to your telepathy, your training has given you a feel for when people are behaving in odd ways. Yes, man. The cry from the bar is filled with drunken affection, which makes you turn towards it with a smile. Instead of a scowl. Speak of the devil. It's both. And despite the early hour, he is more than a little sluggish. Either he just got a job or just got paid, because his smile is too big for him to be drowning his sorrows. Bo, you replied with a nod and a sketch salute. Over this last year, you have strictly professional, for being his boss, distance as much as I can. I don't need friends. Almost become friends. Of course, we're picking almost become friends. Our little guy is desperate for fucking friends. Look at them. They're so alone. Besides, Oh yeah, that's the stat screen. Those are generally the stuff that the game tracks. And it's always nice to see the stuff available. Got time for a drink? Bo asked, once you get close enough so he doesn't have to shout. Nah, sorry. I'm here on a job, not to have fun. You know you're probably sounding a bit abrupt, but it's true. You're already running late, and while being early speaks of being too eager, being too late is just rude. Your boss running you ragged again? Bo chuckles a little and takes a swig of beer. You know how it is. Your shrug is nearly imperceptible. As a norm, your excuse to be here is that you are working for someone else. Technically, you are, as this is just a puppet. Speaking of which, Bo says with a wide grin, I've got a new gig coming up, hence the cause for celebration. I figured as much. So who are you signing up with this time? You don't know most of the players on the wrong side of the street yet. It was always easy enough to knock them down and ask questions later when you did the hero thing. You just never got around to the asking questions part. A wolf pack. He grimaces a little. I know. They're not exactly my style, but they got a juicy gig coming up and need some extra hands. You have to tell me about it later. Your smile is surprisingly honest. Have one for me too, okay? You have no doubt that Bo will have one for you, and most likely several. Still feels so odd to interact with people at length in your puppet body. Casual conversation is one thing, but to have to keep up the act over a period of weeks and months can be both liberating and exhausting. Not that you have ever liked looking at yourself in the mirror, but having someone else look back was an entirely different experience. It was especially disconcerting to have a puppet that wasn't your own gender. At first it was just strange, but once you had others starting to react to you, it started to feel very much the same. You can be happy, sad, or ambivalent, and frankly, it seems like not the most important thing. Looking around, you head towards the back of the bar where the booths are. That's where Dr. Morton should be, the scientist you're looking for. He's the man you need right now, like it or not, and you unconsciously straighten your back as you make your way to his usual booth. So we flipped the odds, and both of times it turned out heads. Both our arrows are now. Alright. You're not sure whether Dr. Morton has a private arrangement on the side, or whether he's just here early enough to be able to pick and choose. Good evening, sir. Dr. Morton bows slightly, his rich black skin a stark contrast to the white coat. The orange shirt underneath makes a bold neon statement. Hmm. Where the good doctor is really from is a matter of heated debate. We have heard everything from Canada to Haiti to New Orleans suggested, but he keeps the truth as hidden as his real name. What turned him down the road of the evil genius, you doubt you will ever know. Everybody has their own story of interest to nobody but themselves. Still, his degree is legit, and his mind is as sound as his manners. Far better than the French accent you suspect might be an affectation. And unlike many others in his business, he showers, dresses smartly, and takes you seriously, even though you suspect he wants to crawl into bed with you. Times of flirting makes things more interesting, or this is just business. Hmm. Frankly, I think encouraging flirting might be funny. I do have to admit it kind of runs a little counter to the general characterization I've had of the guy. Uh, Although maybe you could get away with being like, oh, not emotional, or rather, it's not feeling. But nah, just business. I have what you asked for, you say with a thin smile, patting the bag that is sitting right next to you. Luckily, encouraging Dr. Mortem to lay off the affection. Yeah, prickly. Yes, my feels fair. Encouraging Dr. Mortem to lay off the affection had not been that difficult. He might have been charmed by your looks, but he was even more charmed by your money and the scope of your plans. It was in everyone's interest to keep this a pure business arrangement. Getting emotions involved only complicates things. Look around the darkened room. The booths in this section offer a certain amount of privacy, and at this time on a Tuesday night, everybody is at the bar. It's a simple act to open up your bag, reaching in to pull out a small but heavy black box before sliding it over to him. Dr. Morton's hand almost trembles as he connects the thin cable of a codebreaker to the lock. The diode flashes from red to green, and the box slides open with a serpentine hiss. There is no smell you can perceive, which is a little surprising considering the thin mist that seeps out. Do you have any idea what you truly have here? He asks reverently. Of course I do, you say, trying not to sound insulted. It's a colony of fully functional nanomachines, forbidden technology of the blackest kind. Oh, they are far more than that. Dr. Morton digs around in his pocket for a scanner, running it in slow circles over the small, roundish void cage that was resting in the box, held safe by form-fitting memory foam. Please, go on, you say, only half in jest. It is always risky to provoke men and women of science to talk about their work, but as long as you can stave off boredom and listen, you can learn a lot. You know that Dr. Mortem underestimates the extent of your knowledge, but you've never dissuaded him from that notion. You learn lots. You learn more that way. They are nanomorphs, mademoiselle, a forbidden weapon from the battlefields of the Gulf. To possess just this small sample is a crime against humanity. Where did you find such a thing? That is my business, and you know it. Your smile reveals nothing, and you sip your drink for good measure. He doesn't need to know that story. It's ancient history. Almost a decade ago, you helped contain one of the largest nanostrikes on American soil, as a would-be conqueror fell victim to his own scheme. It took everything you had to tap into the rudimentary mind that controlled the swarm, holding it in place long enough for the rangers of the day to destroy them. A small sample was captured and kept, held securely in a void cage, rendered inert. The hope was to develop a countermeasure in case the wars of the Gulf grew to encompass the world. With the arrival of peace and the ban on nano research, it had been left on a dusty shelf in the secure storage facility of the Ranger headquarters. I suppose it does not matter, he says, but from the look on his face, he is already adding things up. He is bound to guess that this had something to do with the recent downtown battle. He is not a foolish man, but luckily he's not a scrupulous one either. You think that you think they're possible to reprogram them? Could they attack inorganic instead of organic matter? You need a weapon of war, not murder. The parameters should already be placed inside them. It's only a matter of finding and adjusting the setting. I do not traffic in failure, mademoiselle. To control them is going to be the challenge. I know. I still need to pick those parts up. If you can procure what you have promised, this is going to be a work of art. Perfection, he exclaimed with a loving look at the nondescript container. You can't help but find some amusement in the passion with which he focuses on the container in his hands. This is the reason why most mad scientists are single, you suppose? If you devote your life to science, there is little room for anything else. And it will work according to my specifications? You ask, leaning forward a little. He would never admit it openly, but part of you is jealous of the way he can invest himself in something. It has been a long time since you felt that passionately about anything. It will surpass your wildest expectations, mademoiselle. He shakes the hand you hold out to him, and you smile again to suppress the shiver down your spine. 4 weeks from now, when it will be ready for testing, if you deliver what you have promised in time. Your frown must have been registered, because he quickly continued. It is impossible to get done sooner. On my honor. You sigh and empty your drink. I will hold you to that promise, Doctor. I am on a schedule here as well. You allow yourself to look worried. You know that he already suspects you better go between for somebody else. Perhaps someone with limited patience. With limited patience. Perhaps you might get hurt if he delays. But the truth is that you do have a deadline. Every villain needs a grand plan, and you are no different in that respect. Some traditions are worth upholding. Right. Next chapter. Yeah. And so again, right? Leave it be for now, and continue the next chapter next time. Yep. So, um, so we will leave it at that for now, and we'll continue the next chapter next time.